We've all been playing emulator games on our iPhones since Apple allowed Delta onto the App Store. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you how to upload your own custom skins to the app so you can personalize it or give it to your friends or do whatever. So follow me to the computer. I made this template, which you can buy on Gumroad for $1, or you could make the stuff yourself, but this should just speed up the process if you don't want to pay. But once you download this, you'll get a .fig file, which is used for Figma. So Figma is a graphics program. It's kind of like used for UI stuff, but it works on a pixel grid, and I think that's useful for this stuff as opposed to Photoshop for a couple of maybe the more advanced features I'll look at later. So anyways, you'll need a Figma account or some way to convert it if you don't want to use that. So anyways, once you have that file downloaded, you'll be able to come in here and import a file from your computer, and then it's called Delta GBA skin template. I'll probably do more for the DS or whatever people request if they want anything. But this will import for a moment. It's a pretty small file. And if we click into it, you'll see that there's just a couple things here. There's these two frames, or is what these are called in Figma. Let me move myself out of the way. The portrait one and then the landscape one. Everyone probably cares about this portrait one. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to customize this. The most basic thing would be to change the color. So I'll show you how to do that. You can click into this and expand the tree and see all the stuff here. I tried to make this as readable as possible, but you might have to click around a little bit to find out. But if you click on the background, you can change the color, and now you can kind of see where we're going with this. So a quick shortcut to do this, if you wanted to change it on both of them, do something super simple, is you could just select everything, and then in the colors, you can see the stuff. If it's not appearing, it might be down here. But you just pick this, change the color, now everything's red. Let's do something green this time, even though it's kind of hideous. And once you have your colors done, I mean, you can come in here and you can change with this, a common thing people will do is change this to A and this to B. There's a little bit of, this is serious. There's a little bit of editing that'll have to happen if you want to change which button is what or the position of buttons, but I'll get to that towards the end. So for this, let's make this back how it was, but you could, for example, come in here and change the font, to whatever, and then blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And same thing if you wanted like a Pikachu PNG. I swear to God, putting PNG at the end of your query is like the way to get the worst images online. Okay, obviously that's not going to work. Let's copy one of these and just paste it, maybe not all the way in here. If you paste it in here, you can do this stuff. We can do something like this. I don't know. This looks terrible, but you get the idea. So once you have your design looking the way you want it, what you need to do is export this stuff. So we'll export it as a PDF. Don't change the name. That's pretty important that the name remains the same. A way to export everything at once is File, Export, and you can make sure that you have these two things. So once you export these, let's export them into a new folder. I'll call this Green Pikachu. And we'll save them into this folder. So now what we have is our Green Pikachu images, right? Geez, that looks really bad. Okay, the only other thing that you need that was also in that Gumroad file is a info.json file. So this just has some data about our stuff. I'm just copying one over. This will be the exact same file. So you want to come in here and edit some of this stuff. This should just work if you don't even edit it. But if you want to do anything more advanced, or if you want to make it have a special name when it pops up in the app, you'll need to edit this. So you can edit this with whatever. Just look up editing JSON files if it's super confusing. But I'm going to be using VS Code. So in here, there's only 3 things we need to worry about if you're not trying to do something advanced. You worry about the skin name, right? We'll call this Green Pikachu. And then the identifier, you could do the same thing, would make sense. Pikachu. You just want to make sure these are unique so you don't have the same thing twice. Otherwise, it won't work if you're making a bunch of these, for example. And then you can change this. This is Riley. His name, he's the guy who made Delta, but we could just leave it in there as a homage maybe. So anyways, you save that. So that was it, just those two things. And now what you'll want to do is take all of these files and compress them, right? So right click, compress, and this will compress it down into this zip. If you're on Windows, it'll be a little bit different, but it's the same idea. One thing to note is you don't want to compress the top layer. If you do that, it'll behave weird. So make sure you selected all of your files and then compress it that way. So the only other kind of quirky thing before we can get this on our phone is we need to change the extension, but we don't just want to come in here and type it in. The extension is Delta Skin. Delta Skin. And that looks like it worked, but it didn't. I'm not totally clear on how it would work on Windows, but I know on Mac it's kind of tricky. So we want to make sure that the extension actually changed. So to do that on Mac, you can right-click this and go Get Info, and this will open up this tiny little window where you're able to see that it's called archive.deltaskin.zip, right? So we don't want that .zip. It's being kind of sneaky about it, and we'll just keep doing our thing. Green Pikachu, and use Delta Skin. This is important, right? That you don't want it to keep using zip. Okay, so that's it. Now all you have to do is get this onto your phone, and then it'll start working. So let me pop over to the iPhone and start a screen recording, and I'll show you exactly how to do this. So over on the iPhone, you tap on the settings cog, you go over to the Game Boy Advanced, click into portrait or landscape, hit the plus, and then you find the file on your phone. Mine's in the iCloud drive. You can email this to yourself. You could airdrop it. You could do whatever. Let's see, desktop Delta Skins, Green Pikachu. And then you can see, especially if your extension's right, it'll have the little icon with the Delta on it. Open. And it might take a second for this to appear, but there it is. Green Pikachu is alive. And we could do the same thing for the landscape, if anybody ever plays in landscapes. And now when you open up your game, it's using your super, super beautiful skin. So that's pretty much the tea. That's it, if that's the most basic thing you want to do. But I will show you how to change like I said, if you want to switch A and B or yada yada, which is a little more advanced. So if you're done, you're done. But if you want something a little more advanced, here we go. So let's do it here. So we're going to change this to A and this to B. And all of this stuff works on a coordinate system, which is why I think using Figma is actually good here. So if you click on this button, for example, you can see that over here you have your X and your Y values, and you're going to target this in the JSON stuff we were editing, right? So if we see where input A is, we could see that it's supposed to be at 241.62, and here's the width and the height. So this was A, so 241.62, but now it's B, right? So an easy way to change this is, okay, there's two ways to do this. We could just like invert it, right, with these, but I think it'd be easier to just say that this is B and that this is A now, right? So now they're switched. And you could, if you wanted to move it over like a bit, you could do that. And then you just change the X value. So for B, our X value is now 205. And you kind of get the idea. That's the same for all the buttons. There's some more advanced stuff with like joysticks and things, but we're not going to get into that. So that's the idea. And then just make sure you compress it, rename it, go through all the same steps we just did. But anyways, that's how to make these gorgeous skins. So let me know if that was useful. I'm working on a DS one, but just wanted to go ahead and get that out there. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if anything's not working. I'll try to chime in and help you out. But thanks. I hope it's useful to some people.